welcome to another episode of Social PR Secrets, the podcast. My name is Lisa Beyer, and I'll be your host. Today's guest is Collin Austin. Collin owns a scooter business in Gainesville, Florida called Scooters for Less. I caught up with Collin when I noticed how he was using Snapchat as a primary social media channel for his business. This interview was recorded as part of my social media management class at the University of Florida. There's still some great tips in here, and Austin is a great guy to know and follow.
Used scooter alert, people, right here. This color has been fire color. Tell your friends, people. Teal green RX 50, beautiful shape. Only 2,200 miles. Let me know.
Hi, I'm Lisa Beyer, and I'm here today with Collin Austin with New Scooters for Less.
Hey everyone.
And we're going to be talking about the power of Snapchat and using it to promote a business. Okay, hey Collin.
Hi.
How's it going?
Fantastic. How are you?
Very good.
Thanks for coming to our dealership
Thanks for having
today.
me. Well, I'm here for a good reason because I discovered you are doing some awesome things, not only your business, New Scooters for Less, but also you're using social media and specifically Snapchat to promote your business. So how did you tell us first about your business?
Okay, so New Scooters for Less is a scooter dealership here in Gainesville, Florida. We're on a mission to make Gainesville the scooter capital of the world. In summary, like I was that college kid in 2004 that would sit and wait to get on the bus, and then the bus would drive by with those big words that said full bus. It used to drive me absolutely insane. I could never get on the bus to go to class, and I decided to solve that problem, and here we are many years later, still solving it to this day.
So we're here in Gainesville, and University of Florida campus is a couple blocks away. Your audience is obviously college students. And so you're using social media. Let's just talk about social media in general. So how do you use social media from a business standpoint to reach your audience?
I think the most important thing for me as a business owner is to continue to build those relationships with the customers. So many people today look at social media as like, oh, I'm going to go put this 20% off discount on my Facebook page. And I've just learned that that's completely the wrong way to do it. And I just use it as a way to share the experiences that are happening with those customers here at New Scooters for Less, but also continue to connect with those customers and to build those relationships. I don't want the experience to necessarily stop the day that they get their scooter. I want it to continue throughout the lifetime that they have that scooter.
So you're using social media as a way to keep that relationship going.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's been so great about Snapchat is, I have that ability to actually have that one-on-one interaction. Customers can snap me directly, and they know that if they have a question regarding their scooter, or if their scooter's making that weird sound, they're like, this doesn't sound right. They can physically take a recording and say, Collin, does this sound okay, or do I need to bring this in? And it's just those little interactions that just enhance, that customer's experience.
So you're using Snapchat in a way also from a customer service standpoint.
All the time. Yeah, it's not something that I'm proud of in terms of saying these things happen, but customers, these are mechanical machines, and we sell hundreds of them every single year, and the fact is they're not going to be perfect all the time. So if something goes wrong, for example, I had a young lady who broke down on her scooter at 10 o'clock at night, and her scooter wouldn't start. She couldn't get it started. So she sends me a snap saying, hey, I'm stuck, can you help me? Hoping that I was going to have my phone on me and check my snap. And of course, I see the snap come in. And so I open up Snapchat and I help her problem solve, and I help her get that scooter started. And she was able to get home safely, which was my only priority at that time. But I've had that happen with Twitter as well. I had a dad actually a few weeks ago hit me up on a Friday night, 8 p.m., saying, at Innisfrel, please help. My daughter is stuck somewhere. And I was able to get his contact information and physically call them on a Friday night. So it's just, when the dealership's closed and the phone, nobody's here answering the phone, it's a way for customers to still be able to get in touch with us. And not all of it's troubleshooting, but it's great to have it for troubleshooting. A lot of it's just saying hello. And I actually had a young lady hit me up yesterday saying, hey, your team's telling me I need a job here. Will you hire me?
So customer service, recruiting, and storytelling, and just sharing, what's happening behind the scenes at your business is one of the things I've noticed. I follow you on Snapchat. So tell us about some of the content you use and you create each day on Snapchat, and how do you come up with the ideas, and what are some of your favorites that you do?
Actually, I think, and this, one of my favorite entrepreneurs is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he says to document, not create. And that's all I'm doing. So I'm just kind of documenting my day, whether it's, at 7 a.m. going to morning mile with my kids and dropping them off at school, all the way through the business day till the time I leave at, 8, 9 o'clock at night. So it's really just kind of documenting the day. Of course, there's some parts of the day that are more exciting than others, and so I try to capture those moments. But that's all it is. And
you have a mix. You have a mix of personal side and business side, depending on what time of day it is for you, obviously, right?
I do, yeah. I love showing kind of like the dad side of me as well. It's fun. Of course, my kids are at that age where they're extremely cute, and they do those really, 3-year-old type things. So it's fun to get them and get their interactions and play with the filters and the screens, and put the funny faces on them and that kind of thing. So I love doing that as well.
And how do you measure? Because that's one of the biggest challenges that you hear about when it comes to Snapchat and businesses and brands. I mean, brands are really embracing Snapchat, but they're also challenged by how do you measure? So how do you measure Snapchat, and how can you tell what's working and what's not?
Maybe I'm different when it comes to this, but I just don't care. There's days where I have 100 people check in, and then there's days where I get closer to 200 people check in. And I mean, it's kind of interesting to know that these are people that care enough to actually physically go and look at my story. And what is it that they see in that and why they want to check in? I don't know. I just continue to document and let them check in.
And you see your audience growing?
I do, yeah. I mean, it's not like you get like extreme growth, but I mean, obviously during our busy season, I saw more and more people checking in, seeing what's happening at the dealership. I think there is a lot of curiosity that Snapchat creates, and obviously when we were in the process of moving this summer, there was a lot of renovation going on, and so that was kind of exciting because people were like, oh, like I'm getting behind the scenes of this office being built, and I'm getting behind the scene. Like I was physically asking people, what color do you like? Do you like this red? Do you like this green? Do you like, what color is it that you like? And actually soliciting like customers' feedback for our dealership, which was they were part of the experience, part of the decision making, which was really cool. So it's just a little bit of mix. And then like one thing that we've kind of become known for is Fast Forward Friday. And it's just something that I just made up out of nowhere. And we just started doing all the snaps on Fridays and Fast Forward. So, everybody's running around talking like a mouse. Everything's super quick, and it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting, I guess.
One of the things that I thought was cool of what you were doing over the summer is that a lot of the college students, your audience they weren't physically here in Gainesville, but then they could follow what was happening, with your progress and the new building and the new location and what was happening. So by the time they got back to Gainesville, they pretty much knew what was going on. They weren't trying to figure it out once they got here.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really cool about cross-blending platforms, because really nobody's going to know of my Snapchat unless they're looking for a scooter or they've been exposed to us in some other form or fashion. So one of the things that we do is, when the University of Florida sends out the notifications that, hey, you've been accepted to UF, that's usually, I think it's in April. All the students start finding, all the incoming class start finding out that they've been accepted to UF. We start looking through all the hashtags. So for this year, we started looking at hashtag UF20. we just started congratulating people. Congratulations, we look forward to seeing you this fall. And we just start that conversation months in advance, months before they even show up to Gainesville. Right. And it's just really putting that first impression, starting that relationship early, and hopefully they see, through Twitter, that they see our, Snapchat code and like, oh, like let me, take a look at this. And that's just another way that we've been able to grow a following, but really just expose people to our business early.
So speaking of cross-promoting in your Snapchat URL, so I love what you're doing with the cross-promotion on offline types of marketing. So can you tell us a little bit about that besides your business cards, which are awesome? What else do you do offline with Snapchat or cross-promoting?
I have it on my shirt. So there's a little snap code on my shirt. We've put it on all of our invoices. So like each invoice that prints from the computer has a Snapchat code in the corner. The actual receipts that print have the Snapchat code on there. It's really hoping that those people who see it are just going to instantly recognize, what it is. And it's usually not a problem for us because right now, our demographic is that college student, and a lot of college students are on Snapchat. So they see the symbol and they instantly recognize that, oh, like this is a Snapchat code. So we've just been able to do that. Obviously, that's online. I was going to say on platforms, just using the picture. Mm-hmm. Using the picture as your profile picture and those types of things have helped a lot. But offline, I think the shirt's actually been one of the most interesting. I've actually had people come up to me, like I'll be at a networking event and they'll be like, oh, whose Snapchat code is that? And I'll be like, oh, it's mine. They're like, man, that's like the most brilliant thing I've ever. And then like they literally like push me over and like scan, like hold on, let me scan it. And I've been able to, meet and actually build those relationships with other business owners and stuff within the market. So
that's great. So what advice would you give to businesses just starting out or students just starting out, maybe for their personal brand on Snapchat or just in general social media? What tips in starting out, getting a following, growing?
To not focus on how many people are watching or how many followers I have, or I think there's just so much pressure. Our Instagram has 500, 600 people. It's not like we have 10,000 or 15,000. And really, like it's the depth of those relationships. Focus on focus on actually, establishing a relationship with those people on the other end. Don't push. Everybody is just like, when social media came out, it's just like, oh, I'm like pushing my agenda, my sales, my, whatever, like push instead of just focusing on building that relationship and connecting with the people on the other end. And there's multiple ways to do that. But I feel like if you do that, it's going to be more authentic. It's going to come across as like this company, even if it is a company or personal, whatever it is, actually cares about the person on the other side.
So you talked about Gary Vaynerchuk, and we're actually reading Ask Gary V as part of our required reading for the class.
Great book.
Yeah. So his style is actually kind of push, but he definitely is authentic, I would say. So, where do you find that balance? Because he's, you're very laid back, and the Gary V style is not so laid back, and everybody.
Well, Gary V refers to it as jab, 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 right hook, right? Yeah. Like it's giving value. There's so many different ways to give value, and when you're using the platforms, when you're using Snapchat, like it could be by giving free advice. Like I could teach people how to do an oil change, and so many people are like, oh, but that's gonna scare people, or people are gonna say, oh, but they're gonna start doing it themselves, and you're not gonna be able to make money on oil changes because all your customers are gonna start doing oil changes themselves. And that's just not true. Like nobody wants to get their hands oily or dirty, but they appreciate the information and can appreciate that value. And I think that's what he does really well, is that, especially from somebody like me who's an entrepreneur, like I love, seeing his story, just seeing the entrepreneurship side of that, being able to pick, that's why he has Ask Gary V. It's because you can physically pick his brain and get, hey, what would Gary do in this situation? And that creates a ton of value. And then when he goes and throws that right hook, hey, buy my book. I bought 20,
I think I would be responsible for 180 or however many are in my class. So totally sold.
So that's what it's about.
And Gary V's all in on Snapchat, right? Are you?
He is. I'm definitely all in. I haven't quite gotten to the Musical.ly thing as much as he has. But what Gary's good about is understanding where people's attention is, and he knows that right now there's a whole another generation that's growing, that's coming up. These are kids that are using this platform that have millions of followers, and are building millions of relationships, and how they're gonna like progress that as they get older. And the fact that these people are one day going to be 20, they're one day going to be 30, and so he cares about where their attention is now versus waiting. And I don't know. I think that's interesting. Like so many people look. He talked about Pokemon Go. Like, oh, like I'm 40 years old. Like I don't care anything about Pokemon Go. Like I don't want to play Pokemon Go. But at the same time, it's like, well, you don't understand. It's not necessarily about playing the game as much as it is about understanding augmented reality and virtual reality and the direction that we're heading in business, and how that's going to play into a lot of the businesses and social media, relationships, everything.
Okay, so speaking of that, what's next in social media? What do you see is happening in the next year or two, and how are you going to apply yourself? Are you going to start doing augmented reality and virtual reality?
Well, I'll be the first to have spectacles for Snapchat. I don't know if you've heard that spectacles where they're gonna have video cameras on the glasses. I think Snapchat is still continuing. Well, it is. It's growing like crazy. I love that they're innovative and that they're at the forefront. Here's something that was an app, and now it's actually now we have hardware with it. So I think that's interesting. Augmented reality and virtual reality, I'm not like a huge fan myself in terms of I'm not going out and buying all the equipment right here, right now, and in my office playing with it, but I can totally see where it's going to have a huge impact. In fact, the first thing I did when I started hearing more and more about it was I started contacting personal friends of mine who are realtors. And I'm like, you're going to be able to start selling houses before the people even move to Gainesville. They're going to be able to physically walk through the house and see it firsthand. You got to stay on top of this. True. So I've been trying to advise friends of mine who I think it's going to impact more than it will me, to just try to stay ahead of the game, because that's what's interesting about the world that we're in right now, is that it's a very, very fast game.
Yes, definitely. So speaking of fast game, our students are going to be graduating soon. What advice do you give to going out into the professional world? Any tips?
Going out into the professional world, I don't know. I've never done that before.
Or the entrepreneurial world. It doesn't.
The one thing that I still kind of see, even with, I have some students, that work here part-time with us, and the advice that I always continue to give them is to figure out a way to differentiate yourself. Act and physically, today, there's career showcase going on at UF. I was that student. I remember wearing my suit and tie and having my resume, and I was going around from business to business, recruiter to recruiter, shaking hands, and the entire time I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, never gonna work for you. And I just knew it was like a light bulb moment for me. But whether you do work for somebody or you don't, it's important to know who you are, and for you to have for you to differentiate yourself.
So basically personal branding.
Personal branding in a lot of ways, and absolutely, but something as simple as a resume. You're taught to be within this business form. They're all laid out the same way, and they're all
stand out.
Yeah. Whether I actually had an employee who was moving to New York, and one of the things that he asked me was to edit his resume, and I did, and I said, okay, and he was an Air Force helicopter mechanic. And the one thing I said, I was like, the only thing I need you to do is when you hand this to everybody, I want you to attach a picture of you in uniform in front of a helicopter with a wrench in your hand. Because it just speaks so much more than the entire resume does.
Right.
And little things that will make you stand out. And I think resumes, a big part of that. And I always tell people personal websites. Your personal, CollinAustin.com is my resume.
Yep.
So if you can go get your domain, build a little portfolio, or just whatever you're involved in, pictures of you, everything that just makes you stand out. If I am looking at your resume as an employer and I see, okay, this person's caught me. Now I'm interested. Now I want to spend a little bit more time. Well, if I have that personal website on there, and I go and go to lisabuyer.com and see, boom, Here's everything that I want to know about this person. And that'll help me come to that decision of whether or not I want to bring you in for that interview and so forth.
Awesome. Okay, Collin, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thank
joining
you.
us and sharing all your Snapchat and business wisdom.
Absolutely. Feel free to
Yeah.
scan my code.
Yeah. Don't forget.
So if anybody wants one, you can go obviously to collinaustin.com. It's on there as well.
Or just walk over a couple blocks
Yeah.
from campus.
Absolutely.
and
If you need a
see the
scooter,
showroom. Yep.
come get a scooter. You know. So, well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So thank you, Collin, for sharing
You're
all your
welcome.
Snapchat
Thank you so
secrets.
much for coming.
It's been
It was
awesome.
having you guys. So if I can help anybody, just let me know.
See you in class.
Bye. I just did my first interview for a social media class. Social media. Like, I know anything about social media, you know?
Thank you for listening to this episode of Social PR Secrets. If you like what you heard, check out the book on Amazon or follow our blog at socialprsecrets.com. This episode was sponsored by The Buyer Group, a social PR agency striving to keep our balance in the digital world, practicing public relations, social media, and search marketing, while occasionally drinking a glass of wine or two for the best creativity and results. Thank you all for tuning in. If you would like to get a free chapter of Social PR Secrets, go to socialprsecrets.com/free.